excited over this?
Why am I excited, Tyrant?
Because today is the day we start a Titan Sword project.
Yes. Indeed. There are some very important things that we need to find out if it's even possible to make a Titan Sword out of carbon fiber. So before we get to the huge, massive one, we need to make a smaller scale blade.
And this is the material we're going to be using. We've got everything set up down there. So we're going to start on our knife, well, our small little machete knife.
But even for itself, just the concept of making a functional carbon fiber blade is something really exciting that I'm interested in, just on its own, let alone what we're hoping it'll lead to.
Yeah, because there's a lot of misconceptions around that we don't actually know ourselves. Like, is it super light? We know that's right, but how many layers do we have to add? Is it going to be super light? Is it going to
How
snap?
durable will it be?
Exactly.
The concept here is to try and add an actual metal blade to it, but only have the portion of the knife that needs to be metal, and most of its structure will be carbon fiber. So Tyrant and Nate here are going to basically make it, and we'll see how we go. Good to go?
Good to go.
All right. I can't wait to see the results.
Okay, I'm going to trust you with this. You're more of the engineer. I mean, I'm totally going to help.
We've got our carbon fiber here, we've got our resin, we've got some gloves, we've got a whole bunch of stuff. So we're just going to jump right into it. We're going to start by cutting the carbon fiber into some smaller lengths, the lengths of our steel rod. Can you please grab me this steel? Right, so the length of this carbon fiber knife, tiny machete, whatever you want to call it, is about this length. This is the length of the blade that we're going to use. We're going to have a little bit for a handle, and that's basically just going to be our test piece. So we're going to cut the carbon fiber to those specific lengths. We're going to need some scissors, we're going to need some masking tape, we're also going to need our cups, mixing sticks, things like that to really get started.
Done.
Done, okay. You want to chuck a pair of gloves on? So what we're going to be doing is we're going to put some masking tape on the actual carbon fiber in the rough shape that we want to cut out. And the reason we're going to do this is because as soon as we start to cut this carbon fiber, all of these threads here start to unravel. So the masking tape will actually keep the fiber in place, at least until we start putting on the resin. So something a little bit like this, where we have enough material to fit our blade, we have enough to fit our handle, and we can also shape it. We want to have more material than needed so we can actually shape the blade and remove any excess. After we've got our basic shape, we simply just need to come in and start cutting. You do have to be very careful. We don't want to disturb any of the threads too much. Obviously you're going to disturb them a little bit just inherently, but try to be as gentle as humanly possible. So here is our first piece. We need to cut at least 10 to 15 of these. Nate is going to be handling that because there's a lot more information I need to tell you guys. So Nate, do you want to start doing this? Just
sure.
Roughly around this shape, put in the tape, cut it. Carbon fiber usually needs to be offset, meaning the first one may be straight and then all of a sudden you cut the next one at a 90 degree and then a 45 and so on and so on. And this will add extra strength and rigidity to the carbon fiber. Now when it comes to the Titan Sword, it will use a little bit more material than if we were just to cut them all out with no angle. So the reason why we're only going to be offsetting this one a couple of degrees is because this is our test. So whatever this is able to handle, reasonably speaking, our Titan Sword should also be able to handle the same sort of stresses. So we're going to do a couple of degrees on this one instead of properly offsetting the layers. Okay. It's a good test for the Titan Sword. So this here is what makes the magic happen. This is epoxy resin. It's a two-part resin by weight. So that means we have 2 parts of part A, which has the blue cap, and then 1 part of the hardener, which has the red cap. This is what we will be lightly applying on each and every single layer. We'll sandwich them all together with a plastic coated wood fiberboard, and that will create our blank sheet. When it comes to attaching the blade to the carbon fiber, this is something that I've thought long and hard about because I didn't want to insert it in between the layers and compromise the structural integrity of the carbon fiber. So I thought the best way to do it was to basically use this very thin piece of metal as the mold. We'll put the layers on top, squish them down, and then the carbon fiber, even after it's dried and the epoxy resin is dried, it won't actually stick to the steel. So I'll coat the steel in a piece of tape, and that'll prevent the epoxy resin from actually adhering to it. This means that the blade will attach nice and flush to the carbon fiber, so there won't be any resistance when we're doing our testing of the blade. Okay, we have all our carbon fiber cut. We have our steel here ready. So the first thing I'm going to do is put some sticky tape on this steel because this is going to act as the small little mold for the carbon fiber when we squish everything down. While I do that, Nate here is going to measure out our resin mix. So it's a 2-to-1 mix, as I said before. We've got some scales here to measure accurately. Then we're going to start layering our carbon fiber and applying the resin to each layer as we go. We're then going to use the clamps you see all along here and clamp the board down really tight and let it sit for a while. And that will be our rough sheet. Hopefully everything goes well.
It'll be fine.
Let's get started. Awesome sauce. One layer is going to have a bit of the rough texture from the plastic on the wood, and then this one hopefully will get a nice smooth layer on the opposite side. So we'll have one nice side, one side. Good. That is our carbon fiber sheet. Now we're just going to sit and let this dry over. Usually we have about 12 hours until it's hard, and then 24 to 48 hours until it's fully cured. I'm going to give this 3 days just to be sure.
But you get it in 2 seconds.
You get it in 2 seconds. So hopefully future me did everything right. Hopefully it's good, and hopefully when I take all these clamps off, it looks good. I'll see you there in a minute. So we are back. The carbon fiber has set over more than a couple of days actually, so this thing is ready to be cracked open and we'll see what we've got. It's like I'm like a kid on Christmas today. Okay, all right. Everything looks not the worst just yet. Alrighty, let's see if we can get this on. This is our raw sheet, and I think it's looking okay. We are good. Anything that falls off is just bits of resin flashing around the sides. But the actual sheet itself, I think this is going to be a good video. This is the underside of our carbon fiber sheet. Now, as you can see, my plan worked. We have a nice little groove here to fit our little bit of spring steel for the blade, and it fits perfectly flush. This is exactly what I wanted. So now when we attach this blade to it and we sharpen both of the sides of it, it has a level surface area. So when we're slicing through things, there won't be any resistance from the blade either bulging or being stuck in between the carbon fiber. We'll drill all our holes, we'll use a carbide bit, and we can attach the blade and it's nice and flush on both sides, giving us a razor sharp edge. We are working on our knife. We have our carbon fiber here. It's beautiful. I've also put a little bit of a pattern on the back. I don't know if you'll be able to see it.
A little bit of historical pattern, no less. It's very much taken from a Viking sax, a little ahistorical.
Is that what it is? Sax.
Sax, S-E-A-X. So not the way...
Seeks.
No, sax.
Sax.
Like saxophone.
Sax.
S-E-A-X, which is a dagger knife, the Viking era.
Yeah, that's the design I went with because it's single-edged, which for this purpose will work great. Yes. So we are about to start cutting it out. That's the first step. We've got our Dremel here. Now the reason I'm going to be using a Dremel rather than something like an angle grinder is because an angle grinder is kind of like a sword and a Dremel is kind of like a scalpel. And I need to be nice and...
It's a precise tool.
Yeah, so let's just jump right into it. I need to cut out this design. We've got our spring steel over here that we're going to be attaching after that. But let's get kitted up. Well, I mean, we've already
We are ready.
We've got our ponchos on.
We do.
Because this stuff is actually nasty.
Yeah.
We've got respirator and eye protection, gloves. We're ready.
All right, let's go.
Shad,
Yes.
I have a surprise.
Nah.
The prototype is finished.
Oh, I'm very excited.
Do you want to see it?
I do want to see it.
How much do you want to see it?
A lot.
Okay, here it is. Would you like to hold it? It's very light.
Yeah.
Wow, it is light. Oh my gosh, is this light?
All that weight you're feeling is just the wooden handle, pretty much.
Oh, I cannot wait to see how well this cuts, like, because we need to test this thing. We need to see if it'll go through,
Now-
but not in this video. In fact, we're gonna have a full video seeing how solid this is, how well it holds up, and how viable this method of construction is for a supergiant sword.
Coming out in just a couple of days.
Like, it'll be out very, very soon, so stay tuned to Shadiversity, subscribe if you haven't. We hope to see you there, and until that time, farewell.